All right. Well, welcome everyone to Transitioning to High School. This is an annual intermediate event in which we ask some of our graduates to come back and talk about their experiences transitioning from Butler to high school. One of the things that we decided to do this year was to specifically ask one student from each grade of high school to speak about their experience. You'll hear from a ninth grader, a 10th grader, an 11th grader, and two 12th graders about their experiences from a variety of different high schools, including traditional public school, public magnet programs, as well as private school. I am going to spotlight each one of them as they talk, so you should be able to see them and hear from them. And after they introduce themselves, we'll move into sort of a Q&A session. That's really what transitioning to high school is all about, is an opportunity for you, students, as well as parents, to ask questions about pretty much anything related to the transition to high school. So we will go ahead and Megan is going to be the one to start. I do just want to remind everybody, Zoom etiquette, please make sure that you are on mute while people are talking. And if you need to communicate with us for any reason, you can do so using the chat box. So we'll start with Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Pelkey. I'm in 9th grade and I go to Brunswick High School up in Brunswick. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm Landon Fiery. I'm a sophomore at the Poolsville Humanities program.
Hi, I'm Zach Manick. I'm a junior in the Poolsville Global Ecology Magnet program.
Hi, I'm Diana Carcanel. I'm a senior at Churchill High School.
Hi, I'm Marina Kamizawa. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Our Lady of Good Counsel School and I'm part of the music program.
So these are our alumni and they're amazing. And we're so glad that they're here tonight to talk to you guys. At this point, I think the easiest way to do this is to put your questions in the chat. You can direct your questions specifically to Megan, Landon, Zach, Diana, or Marina, or if it's a question to all of them, you're welcome to phrase it to all of them, and we'll read out the questions from the chat box and give them an opportunity to answer. Also, intermediates, we didn't come up with questions ahead of time, so I'm counting on you to come up with some good ones right now. Okay, our first question is, what were your biggest academic challenges when transitioning? Does someone want to take that first?
I'll go. I think the biggest academic change was just the structure of the classes, obviously. I don't think like it was necessarily a difficult change, but it was definitely like the way you learn is obviously different from Montessori to a public learning type of situation where you're in a large classroom with one teacher and it's a lot more worksheets and things, but it's definitely not as challenging as people make it out to be.
Can I add in?
Please.
Yeah, so just going off of what Zach said, I feel like there's this misconception that it's going to be like super academically challenging, but I feel like the only challenge is just like Zach said, the structure of classes. Like for GC, classes are an hour and 15 minutes. So maybe it's a little bit longer than public school. I'm not entirely sure. But I mean, for me personally, it wasn't that hard of a transition. I feel like if you have good work ethic, you can go through it. So it's not that hard.
Uh, Adding on to what Marina and Zach said, I would say that for me personally, my biggest academic struggle was the amount of work that was given. But I think that if you have the good time management and like Marina was saying, you structure yourself so that you're working diligently, I think that it's definitely a job that can get well done and it's not that bad.
Yeah, Butler definitely prepares you really well for like the academic transition wise, but one thing that is kind of different is the amount of like tests that you'll have. You normally have like a test or a quiz every week, uh, at least per class every week. And at Butler, quizzes and stuff, that's kind of on the rarer side. They still happen, and Butler prepares you for them, but it's definitely a transition. Um,
So follow-up question to that to all of you is, what were your biggest social challenges when transitioning?
I can take this one first. So I was the only kid from Butler that went to GC for my year, so it's kind of like harder for me because I know some other kids went to Poosville, like 2 to 3 kids. So like they had somebody to go with. I was like all on my own. So that was kind of a challenge, like make friends because I like knew nobody at GC. But something that I really tried doing is trying to put myself everywhere. So like I tried out for soccer. I was bad at soccer, but I still made the team, and that's how I made friends from the beginning. I like signed up for a lot of clubs, made a lot of friends there. So I think it's just, being able to sign up for all these different clubs and activities. I think that's like a good way to like make friends, especially close ones if you really if you really go to those, events and stuff.
Going off of what Marina said, I definitely agree. If I'm being honest, my freshman year wasn't the easiest experience for me, but I think that a bigger struggle that I had was the social part aspect of it. I think that I was always used to in Butler, we were so open about everything. Butler really taught me about my communication skills. But when I got to a big public high school, not many kids were used to that. Not many kids were used to talking to everyone and getting to know everyone. But I definitely agree with Marina that my freshman year I joined the crew team, and that was something that I didn't know I was really interested in. But I think that the more you put yourself out there, the more you can also learn about yourself, about what you're interested in. So I think that that would definitely be one of my biggest pieces of advice too.
I would say for me,
Never mind.
sorry. But I would say for me, the biggest like social transition would be like the size of the school, just the amount of students there. At Butler, you have a class of 15 kids maybe, and you know all of them extremely well. Whereas if you're going to a bigger high school like Poolsville, which is a still relatively small school in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to know everyone. Um, and there's no way you're going to have even close to like as many, like you're not going to know everyone as on the level that you knew people at Butler, as many people at least.
To jump on to what Landon said though, and I think it's kind of specific to Poolsville, but like if you're in a program and you share these classes and you share these different like academic challenges with these people, then you do kind of get like a camaraderie and a similar, nothing as close to the community feel that you get at Butler, but it is as close as you can get in a public school setting in like these programs.
I'm gonna go now. My experience has definitely been different from all of the other people here because I started virtually, and I'm still virtual. But somehow I still managed to make friends in one of my classes, and I'm actually still talking to those people, which is crazy. And if you know me, you know that's crazy. But honestly, I definitely agree with everything that everyone has said, where you have to put yourself out there and really make an effort to like make friends and really get to know people. And I know that at the beginning of this year, I was kind of like closed off. Like I didn't want to make new friends because I had this whole community at Butler, and I was like, I don't need anyone else. I have these people. But if you just open the door a little bit and put yourself out there, it definitely helps.
So we have another question here, and this is to everyone. What was the starkest difference between Butler and specifically public school, but also private school? So Marina, you can also answer.
I think we touched on it a lot already, but just like there's a lot more people. It's just like everywhere you go, there's people. Like it's a big change from Butler in that aspect. And that to me was the starkest change. It's just you walk outside and there's 100 kids in the hallway. It's just
I would definitely agree with Zach. I am a very petite girl. I'm 5'2", so walking into the hallways and like everyone being there when you get out of one class, and it just kept happening class after
Why are
class,
you
was
off?
definitely a big difference.
It's still going on. But you're not working. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. We have a couple of questions about like, the challenges of moving from a small school to a large school, which I think you guys have sort of touched on. Does anybody have anything sort of final to say about transition from small to large?
I just want to like point out, like, try to find activities of something that you're really passionate about. Because I feel like if you join like 5,000 different clubs, like DIY club, like game club, like if you find a club that you're really passionate about, like for me, that was music, like you will find your core people. I think that's a good way to find your core people because you'll find people that are as ambitious, as enthusiastic as you are for a certain thing. And I think that'll really help you like find a good group of people or like a base in some way for social life.
So another question that we have is, what is the homework load each night? Is it difficult to balance activities outside of school, extracurricular, or otherwise? And this is to everyone.
Personally, I think it depends on the night. There's some nights where I get barely any, but there's some nights where I'm definitely spending many hours doing homework, but it's also the time that's taken to study for different tests, which I also count as doing, I guess, after school. I had said this at the beginning, and I think all of us touched on it a little bit, but I think that a big thing that is definitely something to get used to is time management. It's just if you want, the more extracurriculars you do, the more time management you need to have. And it's something you kind of pick up. I don't think that when I got out of high school, when I got out of Butler, it was the first thing that I picked up. It wasn't that easy. But the more things I picked up after school, I needed to learn more about time management. So I think you kind of just get used to it.
Yeah, personally, the homework load isn't much worse than Butler. You don't have that much more most of the time. It also depends on what classes you're taking too. So like if you're taking an AP class or even an honors class, you're gonna have a lot more homework than just a regular on-level course. So that also kind of factors into it.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch base on what Landon said. It really depends on the classes that you take. Because like freshman year, I didn't take as many AP and honors classes, so my workload was totally different than especially what I have now because I'm like fully loaded. So it really depends on the classes, I think. But time management will come. It won't happen at first, like Diana said, but it will come if you're really determined.
So I know I'm not going in the right order here, but jumping off of that topic, we have a couple of questions about your procrastination habits and how you stop procrastinating. Any insight on that?
I haven't stopped procrastinating. I feel like that's just never gonna go away. Like, especially now because I'm a second semester senior, it's kind of worse, like really bad. But uh yeah, it just hasn't gone away, but I feel like if you're a person that's like goal minded, it'll help a lot. like I want to reach this goal. It'll help you with your procrastination. I think that helped me with mine. Like I set a lot of goals. So I think that helped.
I definitely agree with Marina. Mine has not, I still procrastinate a good amount, but I think that another thing that helped was I make a lot of lists and reminders. But other than that, I think that it's just something that you have to find your own way to deal with. For me, it was setting tons of reminders on my phone, like you need to go and do this, but even though no matter how much I pushed it off. So
Yeah, Butler does a good job of trying to get you to use like an agenda and stuff like that to plan out what you're gonna do. I've stopped using them a lot. It doesn't work as well for me. Um, but uh, like keeping lists definitely is the best way to kind of keep yourself on track. Reminders, but I don't think if you're just if you naturally procrastinate, I don't know if you're going to be able to stop. It's more just how goal oriented are you going to be in order to, finish things on time.
So we have, I think this is an interesting question. What do you like and not like about your high school?
For me, I think the campus is obviously like the biggest change because you go from Butler where you have a nice open area to where I go to Poolsville where it's 50 years old and everything has asbestos. It is quite problematic.
Yeah, the Poolsville building is definitely the worst part of the school. It's extremely old. A lot of it is falling apart. There's like it's just not in good condition. They're renovating it soon, the year after I leave, which is nice, but yeah, that's definitely the worst part.
So we have a question about school choice that I think is particularly interesting for Landon and Zach and Marina. How did you decide to choose the school you're currently attending?
I kind of always knew I wanted to go into either the magnet program or a private school. So for me, it boiled down to, I researched what I wanted to do and what like these programs had available to me. And then I also looked at the private school options and I took the test for both private school and the magnet program. And I decided to go to the global program instead of good counsel.
So for me, my homeschool is Damascus, and uh, given some stuff that had happened there, my parents weren't really excited about the fact of me going there. So they were really pushing me to try and do magnet programs, which I wanted to do anyway, just for the academic aspect of it. But I had also gotten into the IB program at Richard Montgomery. And I had originally gotten waitlisted for the humanities program. So originally I was going there, but eventually Poolsville came through, and because I knew people from Butler that were going there, I just decided that would probably be a better fit.
I think for me it was a little bit different. I feel like my home like district school wasn't the best, so I kind of wanted to go to some other school. I wasn't really that familiar with Poolsville at this time, so I actually didn't test for there. Um, but I tried different private schools, and I actually applied for a lot of the scholarships available, scholarship programs, and I landed with GC's music scholarship, and I really liked their program. So that kind of like leaned me towards choosing GC.
We have another question here about friendships. How do you maintain your relationships from Butler? Meaning, the friends you've made, the staff who work at Butler.
I'll go first. For me, my mom and my sister, they still get to be there because Caitlin still goes to school and my mom works there. So I still get to come down for like sometimes to either pick Caitlin up or, other things. And then I get to see all those like people that I've known for a lot of my life. And then all my friends I keep in contact with over text and like Snapchat and stuff like that. And if we weren't in a global pandemic, I'd be trying to see as many of those friends as I can.
Yeah, yeah, I would say I have a similar experience to Megan in that sense. My mother still works there, and also little plug here, Mrs. Rodwin started the alumni program where we come back on Thursdays and we see each other, which is nice.
I also talked to,
Go ahead.
sorry. I also talked to some of the kids from my graduating class and from other graduating classes. And as far as relationships in general at Butler, I liked it so much that now I'm working there again. I work an extended day. So, but I definitely think that we all still stayed in contact even when we graduated through social media and through just texting. And we always check in here and there. And as far as my graduating class now, we're also definitely talking about where we're going to college. So that was another thing that we all are kind of talking over and bonding over.
Yeah, just a quick plug for my Young Alumni Committee. I started this in the pandemic because I realized that our poor alumni were just, we got to come back to school at Butler, but we had all of these high school kids who, and even into college, who were stuck at home learning on Zoom all the time. And I thought, what a great way to use our campus and to have them come to school. And I enticed them by saying, if you come to Butler, I will give you SSL hours for service to Butler Montessori. So they come for an hour and a half every other week, I think we're at right now. They get SSL hours for hanging out with their friends and letting me, interview them and take pictures of them and do marketing for the school, and doing a little bit of service for us as well. So don't fear. When you graduate intermediates, you will be able to come back and get SSL hours for coming to Butler. Let's see. What do we have for? Oh, this is an interesting question. Did you have any fears when transitioning to high school?
I can touch on this. So I was definitely, one of my fears was the social aspect. I was so stuck on my group at Butler, and it wasn't even a group, it was just the whole school. I was stuck on missing all of my friends, basically what felt to me like my family. And when I went to school, I guess I was scared of all these big crowds of people that in my school had known each other since the middle school they went to, because when you went to the middle school, you just moved on to Churchill. So I guess that I wasn't used to those clustered groups of people that already knew each other. So I guess when I got there too, I was also scared about making friends, but things turned up because I just put myself out there and joined different things. So met different people.
Going off of what Diana said, I think the social aspect that was really like, as I mentioned before, I was the only kid from from Butler that went to GC. And everybody from GC came in clumps from more specifically like Catholic private schools. So everybody already knew each other since like they were in pre-K. So it was kind of like difficult to like make friends and join a group that's already been together for like so many years. But touching back on what Diana said, like putting yourself out there, going into groups, clubs that you're really passionate about, like she's doing crew, I'm doing, music, things that you're really passionate about, you'll find your group. And I think it'll work out, but it might take time.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I was very, very scared of the social aspect, but I was also, the academic was also pretty scary for me because I had gone to a public school when I was little, but there was no homework. So I wasn't really that familiar with how high school was going to be with homework and like how the classes were going to be. And on top of that, it was online. So it was like this whole thing, and it was just, fine. I mean, it was fine, but it was scary at first.
This question says, Butler's teachers and staff are so great at supporting students. Well, thank you. Do you find that the teachers and adults at your high school are supportive of you? Do you feel that they know you as individuals?
At Poolsville, at least. Oh, sorry. I feel that all of the teachers I've had have been extremely supportive, and they really want to see you succeed. One difference though is that I feel like at Butler, the teachers are much more willing to like come to you and like ask you if you need anything, whereas in Poolsville, at least, and I think in most public schools, you have to make much more of an effort to seek out help from your teachers if you need it. You have to go to them, and they're willing to help you with anything, but you have to be willing to go to them for help.
I've had a mix of both kinds of teachers, like ones that just don't really like not care, but like, they don't reach out or anything like that. But then I've also had teachers who I sat down with my Spanish teacher last semester, and I talked to her for like an hour, and I just explained to her like my life. It was kind of funny. But then I've also had teachers who, if I was getting behind on work, they would reach out and be like, "Hey, this isn't like you. Are you okay?" And I really appreciated that, because it like got me back into my groove, and I was just better because they reached out.
I think at GC, there's a bit of combination of both, but I think GC does a really good job about student to teacher relationships. Like, I'm really close to all of my teachers. Like, I was struggling with a math test, and I literally said to my math teacher, "Can we Zoom?" And we Zoomed for like an hour and a half on Sunday. So I feel like my experience is different than those of public school, but I think there are some teachers that like won't come to you. You have to come to them, but when you come to them, they'll give you their time, their effort. But I think the majority of teachers at GC really, like, I have really personal relationships with them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think connections with teachers in public school is just all about what you make it and like how far out of your way you go to like, I need to talk to this person to catch up on this or stuff like that. That's been my experience.
Let's see. Adam wants to know what classes you guys are taking for math and Spanish. And for those that don't know this, traditionally math and Spanish are the two courses that you get sort of like placed into in high school. It sort of depends, like where you leave Butler sort of depends where you end up in high school. Whereas the other courses you can kind of self-select a little more. That's true, still true, right? So yeah, Adam wants to know, what are you taking for math and Spanish?
So I'm taking calculus with applications. That's what the class is called, but it's basically not exactly AP calculus, but there's also calculus AB. I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between AP calculus and calculus AB, but I'm in the honors version of calculus essentially. And then for Spanish, I'm in AP Spanish language, which is more of reviewing all that I've ever learned in Spanish. And then the next one would be AP Spanish Lit, where we just read and stuff, but I'm in AP Spanish language.
So going off of what Diana said, I'm taking honors calculus, so it's like kind of like a combination of like AP Calc, like what Diana was saying. I can't really explain what the course is like, but it's honors calculus. And for Spanish, I reached the limit at GC last year, so I took AP Spanish language last year, so I took the highest Spanish my junior year. So this year I'm not taking Spanish. I have a free period actually, which is pretty nice. But yeah, those are the courses.
So this year I'm taking honors algebra 2 because so at Butler we take algebra 1 in 8th grade. So going into high school, I would recommend probably taking geometry of some kind, either on level or honors. But then for Spanish, it depends on. So I took Spanish 2 last year because I just wasn't sure what the transition would be like, what Spanish would be like in public school. And it was definitely easy. Senora prepares you extremely well. You're fine with whatever Spanish you decide to take. I think you can kind of choose a little bit more in Spanish at least.
We have a question about social. Have you found any any issues with bullying or mean attitudes in high school?
I personally, I haven't, like, it's obviously out there and as a parent, but I haven't experienced it, and it might be because of like my magnet program or just because Poolsville is so small and so connected. But there's definitely people with like mean attitudes or bad attitudes, but that's just like who you associate yourself and who you want to be and who you want to strive to like become.
I definitely agree with Zach. I personally haven't experienced any form of bullying, but I've seen it. And there were some people that I think it was like I stood up for my friends. And I think it's definitely like going off of what Zach was saying, a huge part is who you associate yourself with. It's just choosing the right crowd and choosing to just what you say in high school. So yeah.
Yeah, that is a nice thing about the schools being as big as they are, is it's easy to distance yourself from that stuff if it's happening. Like I haven't experienced it. I haven't really seen it at Poolsville for the most part. From what I've seen, everyone's pretty nice and has good attitudes, but it's easy to kind of separate away from people that might have bad attitudes if they do.
Yeah, going off of what everyone said, I feel like this is unavoidable. I feel like there's always going to be mean people. Like there's mean people in the world, there's going to be mean people at your school. Just depends on who you surround yourself with, like what everybody else said. Yeah. And GC, like going off what everybody said, it's a big school, so you can find your people, you can stay away from it. I personally haven't seen bullying in action at GC, but I've heard of it, so.
Really quickly, I'm like all of them. I haven't seen or like been bullied, but mean attitude, maybe people not talking in breakout rooms. I don't know. It's hard to bully someone like in class, especially on Google Meet, which is what my school is using, because you can't private message anyone, so it would just be pointless. I don't know.
That is a perfect segue, Megan, because the next question is, how are you handling online school? Do you have any tips for intermediate students about online school in particular?
I can start with this one. My number one tip for this is that you try not to get behind on work. Like I know it's really easy to just like stop working and just watch YouTube or something. Stop. Sorry. But if you can stay on top of your work and get it done like not as fast as you can, you want to like take your time with it. But it's not that the work isn't that hard, so you can get it done in a quick amount of time. And yeah, don't procrastinate it.
I would say my biggest piece of advice is for online school is reaching out to your teachers. I'd say like don't be afraid to. There was one time where I wasn't understanding something in a class, and I think I emailed my teacher at least like 5 times that day, and I felt really bad about it, but I'm glad I did because I ended up understanding the topic a lot better. And I think it's like even if you have to schedule that separate Zoom meeting outside of class, it's definitely much different than having the ability to go into school and meet with your teacher during lunch or something. So even though it's an extra step that you may not want to take, it would work out in the long run because you're understanding topics that you're going to work on for the rest of the year online. So.
Okay. Let's see. I think I want to ask this question next. What else have you guys done to earn SSL hours other than, coming to Butler to hang out with us?
Butler, the intermediates have the thing over the summer where you can go and like work on the farm kind of. I've done that for a week or two, and that gives a lot of hours. Summer camps are really good too. Obviously, it's hard now because of COVID. Not every camp is open. Swimming pool. I've worked at swimming pools too as like swim instructors for younger kids. That's another good source.
I think the GC SSL situation is totally different. So we have to get it approved what our service is. So there's like pre-approved service things on like the service site, and every week we get like daily bulletin, not daily, weekly bulletin, which has like this whole service section. Like now it's divided virtual and in person, but you can't like lifeguarding, we can't get SSL hours from that. It has to be like, because we're a Catholic school, it has to be some sort of like affiliation um with that. So what I've done, I've taught kids with autistic spectrum disorder a lot. Swimming, that's what I've done a lot. A lot of clubs like do teach-ins, and that's where you get a lot of hours from. But GC's situation with SSL hours is completely different than public school, so it's a bit different.
I also I got SSL hours in my church from altar serving, and then I also one time for SSL I was talking to my friend that she also needed some SSL hours, so we helped move some of like just move around packages and boxes in a facility where we helped out this company. So I think it's also important that you talk to different people about like maybe it could just be your friends, and you guys might all need SSL hours, and they can help you find new ways to get some. That's at least how it worked for Churchill. So.
I know Montgomery County Public Schools has a big list of just possible SSL opportunities. I think it's on their main website somewhere, but they update that pretty frequently with new opportunities for stuff. So if you need SSL hours, that's a good place to look.
Okay, so I'm gonna sort of combine Casey and Nora's questions a little bit. So Casey wants to know, is there anything you wish someone told you before you started high school? And Nora's is there something that you do differently now? I felt like they were kind of similar.
I personally, I just wish I would have went back to freshman year and just said enjoy freshman year more, because it's just, I mean, freshman year is not academically challenging. It's just kind of, it's just kind of fun, and you're meeting new people, and you're having a good time, and that would be my only change, I think.
I definitely agree with Zach. I would have told myself to join more things than I did. I was really shy, and I was so stressed freshman year that I think that I was just really overwhelmed, but I was making it seem more than it was just because there was a lot going on that I wasn't used to. But I think that joining clubs and joining like different teams would definitely be really helpful. Yeah, so.
For me, it's the same thing as everyone else. Just GC, like I kind of wanted to like try different sports, and like past a certain grade level you can't try out anymore. So it's kind of specific, but like I wanted to try like what is it? Field hockey. I wanted to try all these different sports. So I feel like if I just freshman year tried out for all those things, that would be fun. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question about, have you found any aspect of high school to be academically lacking? If so, what areas would you say that they're academically lacking? And have you sought any kind of supplemental instruction, like taking courses at community college, for example?
Um, I I go to Poolsville and there's a lot of magnet classes and opportunities, and you you kind of set yourself up for what you want to do more in when you go to like Poolsville and you apply to a program. Like Landon, the humanities program is more set towards English and in some degree social studies, and mine is more science based, and I'm in the engineering program. And so from that aspect, I don't feel that I've academically had anywhere that was lacking, but that's also because of the school that I go to.
I would maybe say one thing I get more like outside guidance in is like SAT prep and stuff like that. I think there might be a test prep class at Poolsville, but you have so many like required classes you have to take, at least with in my program, that it's hard to fit in um, any extra electives. So that definitely is one thing I go outside of school to get. So I think Khan Academy has stuff, but then there's also places you can go for SAT prep.
Okay, so this question is for Landon because it's for those of you in the Poolsville Humanities program. How were your writing skills prior to entering high school? Do you feel that you've improved since entering high school? And have you felt overwhelmed by the amount of writing that is assigned?
So before Poolsville, my writing was decent. At least I like to think it was. We a lot of the stuff you do in intermediates prepares you extremely well for what you do in Poolsville. Like the literary analysis papers, you write a lot of those. Pretty much every book you read, you're writing 3 of those papers on a book. But um, I wouldn't say that it's overwhelming. They balance it out well. And I definitely feel that my writing skills have improved, mostly just from practice. A lot of the base writing skills come beforehand. Like Butler teaches them most of them. So just practicing and improving on those skills, and obviously the classes will give you, advice. I feel that my research writing, like research papers, is one area that's definitely improved for me. But yeah, I think it's a good balance. It's not overwhelming.
I'll also just open that question up to the rest of you to say, does that feel true as well in your programs that you're, how were your writing skills prior to entering high school? And do you feel like you've improved since being in high school? This is a little bit of a self-serving question, I'm not going to lie.
I'll go, I guess. So I just started my English class. So we've been starting with like these writing prompts, and we have one weekly. And every week I read the prompt and I'm like, what am I supposed to write about? And then like when I actually get rolling, all of these like memories from Butler come like rolling back into my life. And I'm just like, wait, I can do this and I can actually write this. And yeah, I feel like I was an okay writer at Butler. I don't know if I've improved yet, but my teacher left a comment on one of my work pieces this week and was like, "You did a really good job with this." So I think I did pretty good.
You guys were all excellent writers. You have nothing to worry about. This is a question about organization. Did you feel like your organizational skills and note-taking skills were strong enough to keep up with the demands of your classes?
I feel like personally mine definitely improved. Freshman year, I would kind of just have a notebook and write down some stuff, and I would really try and write down every single thing that was on the whiteboard or the PowerPoint that my teacher was presenting. And I soon learned over the years that you should really just write down the key points because you're just wasting your time trying to copy down a whole slideshow. And some of my teachers talk so fast I couldn't even keep up. Um, but I think that it was definitely something that I got better at. I started like color coding my notes and I was super on top of them, and my friends would call me crazy, but I think that it definitely helped and it was something I got better at.
Yeah, I would say my organizational skills were definitely strong enough for the demand, but my note-taking skills definitely had to improve. With AP classes, you take a lot of notes individually, like from chapters of a textbook. And last year, I would sometimes spend like 7 or 8 pages on a chapter when you probably should only be doing it in 2 to 3. Like Diana was saying, I was just trying to write down everything. I was basically rewriting the chapter as notes. So that's still something I have to work on, but it's definitely improved.
Nora has a question, sort of like a reverse history question here. Is there a program you would rather have gone to other than the one that you're in? So if you could go back and do it all over again, would you make the same choice or would you make a different one?
I joke a lot that I'd rather be in global just because of the field trips and stuff when they go, and but I'm very happy with the program I chose. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I always think I visited Good Counsel and they have the nicest lunch facility. And sometimes when you have to sit in the Poolsville cafeteria, I do reminisce about the one day that I had there. But no, I'm quite happy with the program that I chose.
Oh, interesting. From Maria Kamasawa, can you make a short pitch to promote your high school? So what would you say to promote your high school? Yeah, Zach, we don't want to hear about the asbestos.
For me, the nice thing about my program and Poolsville is we have a lot of field trips. So I'm not always in the building, especially freshman year. Every 2 weeks, I had a field trip. And you go somewhere and you do like field-based research learning, which I really enjoyed, and it was really cool. And it was comparable to some of the learning that we did at Butler in terms of going out and going to the stream and testing the water samples and things like that, which I really enjoyed.
All right, that was pretty
Academic,
convincing. Can you top that?
I'm mostly gonna go into like academic wise. I think Poolsville is ranked as one of the best, if not the best school in Maryland. So like planning out to college wise, it's well received to see that you're coming from there. I know every year they send a surprising number of kids to Ivy Leagues and just ridiculously good colleges. So the humanities program especially prepares you for a lot of the writing stuff that goes into college applications, like essays and stuff. Obviously, Miss Rodwin helps, but the actual like essay and planning for that and working on SAT essays and AP classes, the humanities helps a lot. Just organize your writing, because that's a big part of a lot of those things that help you stand out to colleges.
All right, that was a strong showing from Poolsville. Marina, how would you pitch good counsel?
I'm trying to like put something together. Because, I mean, at Good Counsel, you can literally find anyone. You would find somebody who's in the STEM program, who's in the IB program, who's in athletics, who's in music. You can literally find anybody here at at Good Counsel. I feel like if you're passionate about something, you'll find it. And I think Good Counsel has so many awesome opportunities, like exchange programs. Like I went to Australia, it was amazing. We can go to Spain to do like study there as well. So you can have a lot of like cross-cultural experiences, and Good Counsel is really diverse, racially, ethnically, socially. So I feel like you can find a lot of different people, expose yourself a lot, and you become more open-minded. And I think that's really something special.
Diana, how would you pitch Churchill?
That's a difficult question. I'm not exactly sure, like Marina was saying, how to put it into words. So I think that it was just really, I think the people there were pretty welcoming, and they definitely make sure that like counselors and teachers definitely make sure that they're there so that you can have the best experience that you can have and that you're for your potential. I think that counselors really, I going back to that question about taking classes at community college, I personally didn't, but I know a lot of people that have, and counselors really made it their job to help students and to pursue their interests and what they'd be interested in. And same thing about all my teachers. There were some teachers where I would have lunch with my friends, and we would just all talk, and it was just really fun to learn more about them versus them just being like someone who's teaching me a subject. So.
Megan?
I don't really know much about my actual school. I mean, I've been there a couple times these past couple weeks because I'm doing the musical, but I don't really know much about it. We have baseball, which is apparently a big thing at the school. I don't really know. The principal's pretty nice, and he makes a video every morning. That's the morning announcements. Yeah, and he gives birthday shout outs. Yeah.
And it's small. How many kids go to your school, Megan?
I do not know, but it's small. Like it's bigger than Butler, but it's like smaller than like a lot of other things. Yeah.
Yeah, Brunswick, I'm pretty sure is like 400 kids in the whole school. That's smaller than Diana's entire graduating class at Churchill. Just to put that into perspective.
Wait, how big is your class, Diana?
This is actually like a joke between most of my friends, but my graduating class at Butler had 8 people. My graduating class now has over 500, so it's much bigger.
I think my graduating class is 230. So Good Counsel is not as big as other public schools, to put it in perspective. So like Megan's school, Poolsville. Well, how big is Poolsville actually? I don't know.
It's probably like 300 kids, probably less than that, but that's in the graduating class, maybe around there.
I wonder if Mrs. Marks knows the answer to this question. That she might be able to tell us how many kids go to Poolsville. 1,200 total. Thank you. So yeah, that sort of gives you a sense of sizes as well. Well, if there are no other questions from our attendees I have a final question because have you met me? So, so my final question to you guys. So each one of you is a certain number of years from Butler, right? Megan having just graduated and Diana and Marina being the furthest from your Butler experience. I want to know, I guess, how when you look back on your Butler experience, how do you think about it? Like, what stands out to you? What are your memories? Do you feel like it shaped you or impacted you in some way?
I don't know. When I look back at Butler, I just get really like nostalgic. I guess that goes without saying, but you really appreciate everything that happened because I can't really describe how it shapes you and changes you, but it does. Like a lot of who I am at least was developed at Butler and like kind of made me who I am now. Um, and obviously the friendships at Butler, I just kind of hold differently than friendships I have at school now. Like the friends I have at school now are not nearly as close as I remember being friends with people at Butler. I still have close friends at school at Poolsville, of course, but not to the level I did at Butler, I guess.
Going off of what Landon said, I become really nostalgic, but also really grateful that I was able to go to such a cool, wonderful school. Like who goes to a school where you can ride horses, climb trees, do farmers markets, and all these different things. Other than being such a great conversation starter with other people, like we were mentioning before all of you all came in. Like I really think Butler, I feel like what Landon said, I can't really describe it, how Butler shaped me, but I feel like I wouldn't be the same person if it weren't for Butler. I found a lot of my passions at Butler, um, and friendships, all these different things. I think Butler is just such a unique and wonderful school. I feel like it just impacts everybody differently, but I think all in a good way. So I'm just really happy that I went to Butler.
Going off of what Marina and Landon said, I also can't really put it into words what Butler did for me and provided for me, but I personally think I've changed a lot. My personality has changed a lot, but I wouldn't have it any other way going to Butler because I could still rave about Butler and what it gave to me, and there's still people, my mom's family friend that we were talking to about what Butler did for me, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, all I knew was Butler for a very long time in my life. And I think it's always been very special and close to my heart. And like the bonds you build at Butler are like Landon said, like none other connection you make outside. I mean, that's not completely true, but they're very special and it's almost like a familial bond, you know. And I always joke around at Butler and like, oh, Jordan and Landon, they're my brothers, they're my children. And everybody just kind of knows that like these are that almost family to me.
Yeah, I agree with everyone everything that has been said. I mean, it's definitely it's something that I'll never forget. There are times where I wish that I would have appreciated it more, especially when I'm like stuck on homework and I can't, especially because everyone at Butler is there and they get to go to their teachers and ask for help, and it's just a little bit harder to ask for help, especially in high school, because the teachers are intimidating and they're new. Well, not intimidating, but at first they're intimidating. But yeah, I wish I would have appreciated it a little bit more. Now I think I'm getting better at it though.
All right, I know I said I was going to be final comment, but Nora gets to be final comment. She says, what was your favorite Butler memory? So pick one. I would say one that was your favorite.
For me, it was just the whole, I can't choose one from the California trip, but I'd have to be maybe laser tag at California. Just the whole Camp CYO it was awesome.
I also cannot just choose one. That made the question much harder, but I think my seventh, I think Marina can back me up on this one, but our 7th grade year when we went to Costa Rica, everyone on our trip, everyone in that trip from our class just remembers there was this one night where we had all gotten back from dinner, and at the hotel that we were staying at, or I guess it was like more of a cabin, there was a gazebo like towards the bottom of, it was kind of just like in the middle of nowhere, but it was still in the area. And just more than half of our class just sat there and we talked for hours. And that just goes to show something that Butler gave me, my communication skills. But looking back on it, like other kids now would just think that like sounds so boring or something, you're just sitting there talking, but it was one of the best experiences. We all looked back on our memories from Butler, and now I'm just raving about it because it was such a great memory, but that was such a great trip.
Yeah, I gotta back up Diane on this one. Like the gazebo, awesome. I mean, going to Costa Rica was, I remember all of us getting so hyped up, like, oh my God, we're going to Costa Rica. Like it was just so fun. Like getting on the plane. I remember, was it like Tim that was like, something happened with Tim boarding? I feel like he was like group C, we were group B, he was like a group behind. There was something going on. But I mean like those like tiny little bits of the Costa Rica trip like just made it all so whole. Also the New York trip was also a lot of fun, especially my Italian group. I think Zach was part of my group. Remember Zach? Yeah. That was so fun. We went to this one restaurant and we had really good calamari. I remember that. It was so good. I think just the trips, really meaningful, little special moments that you can look back on.
I would say one of mine might be my first MMUN, because I had been waiting to do MMUN since I was in like 1st grade, I think, because the school I went to before I came to Butler did MMUN, and that was like a very big thing. But the specific part of MMUN would be where I got sick for the General Assembly and I couldn't go. And it doesn't sound like a good memory, and it really wasn't because I had to miss it. But I don't know, it's just something that I kind of laugh at because I had been waiting, like 5-6 years for this, and then I end up getting sick. It's just kind of funny.
For me, mine, it's a little bit smaller than like all the trips that they're mentioning. But the snow days and the rainy days, they were my favorite, because we would have our classes, but they would be like cut short sometimes, and we would go outside and we'd play in the snow and we'd play in the rain. And I mean, I remember one day, it's the very famous day, Akoma and we made a snowman and we had a snowball fight and we drank hot chocolate. And I think we started a movie, but we didn't get to finish it because we all had to go. But I always think back to that one when it snows or rains, really.
I just totally forgot about one. I don't think this generation knows about it, but I know Miss Manic does. I know Diana does. Logwood. Um, Logwood. Oh my goodness. I miss Logwood. When like I feel like 6th grade or 7th grade, like they closed it all off, but Logwood. Oh my, we all had our little houses. We built our own little houses. Like some people were like president. I don't really remember, but we all had our like different like stations, our different houses. We traded, like we had currency. It was so fun. Yeah, Logwood, nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah, you just see people walking around with bricks and they're like,
Literal bricks. Like,
what
I'll
are you
trade
going
you
to do?
this if you give me this.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to share your experiences, your Butler memories, your high school experiences. And thanks to everyone else as well for coming and having such great questions. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Butler and the intermediate program. I love it. Clearly, I would not be doing what I do if I did not. But I think it really just goes to show when you look at some of our fantastic alumni that are here, and even the ones that are not here tonight, Butler really is a very, very special place. And we're just so lucky that we all get to be in community. with you guys. Even I always say to the graduates when they're so sad about leaving, Butler's like the club you can't leave, right? Like even when you graduate, you can still come back. We still want to see you. We want to hear from you. And we just love you guys. So that is all I have for tonight. And